everyone, my name is Anastasia and this is my knitting channel. This will be a podcast about my February knitting. I will show you all finished works, work in progress updates, and something then I want to knit in March. I hope you will find it interesting and let's begin. And before we start, I want to say thank you to everyone who subscribed to this channel and left comments and feedback under my first January podcast here on this channel. Since then, I also uploaded a new video. It is knitting socks knitting tutorial on these snowflake socks. This tutorial is completely free. It's very detailed. It's about an hour duration of this video. So I think even beginners knitters will understand it and find it clear and simple to follow. For now, I find this schedule very comfortable for me, so I'm planning to post one podcast in a month. So in the end of each month, I will make some updates of all my knitting. And during the months, it will be one knitting hack or some knitting tutorial, some useful information for knitters. And let's start this video with socks. In my previous podcast, I mentioned that I started my year-long socks box, where each month I am knitting a pair of socks that either inspired by this month, so something connected with this month, or connected with some events that happened or will happen during that month. And since March is almost here, so I finished two pair of socks for January and February. I already showed you the January pair, but they weren't finished. As I remember, it was only one socks for half. So now they're completely finished. And this is color worked socks, where I used 3 strands of different colors yarn. And this pattern I created myself, and you can find this picture of this pattern in the box below this video. I will left you a link on the Pinterest when I saved this picture. Of course, it's not necessary to repeat all colors of this socks, so you can use only 2 strands of yarn, main color yarn and some yarn for color worked, and you can repeat this chart that again you can find in the description, link to the Pinterest. It's absolutely free, just download it and you can try to knit something similar. You can use this chart or pattern not only for socks. Obviously, it could be mittens or some color worked sweater, something like this. Probably I should say some words about yarn. I knitted them using 2 different colors of drops Fabel. It's main color, some oat milk shade, and blue color. And violet, this is West Yorkshire Spinner's signature in shadow Amethyst. I remember this shadow, it's very beautiful, and I think very accurate describes these shades of yarn. They were knitted for my feet size, it's about US 8, 8.5, and they turned great, and they can look a bit white, but that's because color worked socks are much less elastic than a regular socks that you knit using only 1 strand of yarn. So as a result, they don't stretch at the moment you put them on, but they are already a bit stretched out. And again, but when you worn it on your foot, they fit completely comfortable and neatly around your foot and leg and ankle. I will show you some pictures how they look on my foot. So I knitted these socks cuff down using I don't know how to name this heel. I think it's double stitch row heel, not sure. And I'm really happy about the socks. The only one thing that I would change in this pattern is this like central parts, central chart for of the color work. So in my mind, I originally indeed to look it's like a snowflakes, but with this specific yarn color and specific design of these charts, it's actually more look like cornflowers, I think, and that is not quite match January theme, I think. So this is Norwegian stars with flower in one sock. But at the end, I should repeat that I'm completely happy with this sock, especially considering how much times I re-knit them. I couldn't get the fit right at first, so I couldn't just put them all on because color work was too tight. 3 stands color worked is much more tighten than 2 color, and certainly much less elastic than knitting only with 1 stance of sock yarn. And after a lot of trial and error, I finally got the right fit using 3mm needles and 72 stitches. This combination allowed me to create socks that slip on and off easily. 3mm needles, it's I think US 2.5. So this the pair that I made for January, and let's move on to our February socks. Of course, the main February event or holiday is a Valentine's Day, so I wanted to create something that will be connected with this holiday. For this design, I took inspiration from my daughter's top. So it's like t-shirt, and I think I will attach a photo and you will see that this is like t-shirt with the rows of hearts, different colors, and some of rows with these hearts is upside down. And I wanted to create something similar, but I felt that covering the entire socks with very big hearts will be too much, so I decided that my hearts will be like growing up during the knitting. So I started the socks like from toe to the heel and cuff, and started with the smallest, just 1 stitch hearts, and then gradually increased the size of my hearts and finish with these 2 rows of like big and very bright colored hearts. I really like this idea with this small tiny V-shape hearts. It's just regular 1 knit stitch that only looks like a heart, and I think that's really great idea. For some reason, I decided to add very bright red ribbing. Again, I really think that it's like complete this gradient effect, like this transitioning from light to very bright and dark color. Of course, I could use pink color for the cuff, but for me red is more connected with the St. Valentine's Day, you know. As I mentioned, I started these socks from a toe using a Turkish cast-on method. I'm not sure that The name in English knitting community is the same, but in Russian speaking community, this is Turkish cast on, when you just wrap the yarn around 2 needles and then work the first round and create clear and seamless cast on edge. Then I increased the number of stitches and finished my toe, and then I started my color work using 2.75 millimeters needle. It's my usually needle size for 2 stands color work. Once again, yes, I used 2 different contrast colors of the yarn, but in the same time it's only 2 stands of yarn in each row. Even though these socks are knitted from the toe, I used absolutely the same heel. This is actually my favorite heel knitting method, and I of course will left you a link in the description to the tutorial where I originally learned how to knit this. The great thing about this toe that it's reversible. You can use it while you're knitting a toe up or cuff down socks. Sometimes I also add a gusset. I did this on my snowflake socks. So here I was using absolutely the same heel knitting method, but I added a gusset for these socks. And if you want to see how I knit this heel and gusset, again, you can find it in my snowflake socks tutorial, where I have included time stamps specifically for this section. So after the heel, I started my ankle section and finished with a ribbing 2x2 on the smaller needle size. So on my ribbing, heel and toe, I used only 1 stand of yarn, but the smaller size of the needles. And I finished the ribbing with the Lori's Twists Bind Off. Again, I will left you a link down below. And let's talk about the yarn. So in these socks I used 2 different colors of Lana Grossa MEILENWEIT. It is this, again, milky, not very milk, it's like concentrated milk, this canned sweet milk. I think it's concentrated, condensed milk, canned condensed milk. And same yarn is this red color. And pink one, it is Opal, classic 4-ply Opal yarn, sock yarn. I will list all the shade numbers of colors again in description, and as well you can find it on my Ravelry page. I try to update my working project and finished project, so you can find some details on Ravelry as well. And again, I have knitted these socks for my foot size, US 8, 8.5, and my yarn usage was about 50 grams of main color, about 15 grams of red color, and about 10 grams of pink color. I made color worked parts on 70 stitches. And again, these socks are very well and comfortable on my foot. Unlike the January pattern and January socks, I was able to get them right on the first time. No big reknitting was needed, except of fixing small mistakes along the way. After all, this project was very easy and interesting. Even though the color worked followed the main idea, each row is different, so it's very interesting to make these, steps and knit every other row. You can stop to do this, and it's very interesting what is waiting for you in the next row. This make this project very engaging and fun to follow, to knit it. I'm thinking about making a pattern for my Ravelry page. I'm not sure if I will do it anytime soon, but I do feel that these socks are like desire a pattern. They turn out very unique and fun to knit. You can knit this using a dark colored yarn as a main yarn, and as well you can knit these hearts only with one color of the yarn, or the idea that like popped up in my head just right now, you can use some self-stripping yarn or some hand-dyed yarn where colors are slightly comes one to another. So you will use only 2 strands of yarn, but your hearts will be absolutely different and unique. So there are like tons of different color combinations that would work beautiful. If this pattern is something you're interested in, just let me know. I think it's inspired me to write it as soon as I can. So let's wrap up the sock theme here, and I will show you the yarn for socks that I'm planning to knit for March. This March, my daughter is celebrating her 5th birthday. So I decided that in month when my kids or my husband have birthdays, I will knit a pair of socks for them. Just to be honest, I don't need so much pair of socks for myself, especially very warm color worked socks. Because we're living in Texas, and to choose the yarn for her socks, I just grab all my kids and husband and bring them to my favorite yarn store here in Austin. It was like seconds when she picked up the yarn for her socks. And this is yarn that she chose. Actually, this is not yarn socks. It's 94% cotton and 6% lurex. So you understand that it's cotton yarn. Absolutely not the best choice for socks because it is like zero elastic. It is very soft cotton and it is Turkish cotton. It's really soft, but not just not suits for knitting socks. I'm really afraid that even after one wear, socks will lose their shape, stretch out, and will start to slip off from the leg, from the foot, making them both uncomfortable and unflattering. In the same time, the yarn is absolutely unique and gorgeous, and of course my daughter loved this lurex, bright and sparkling. You see, it's quite a lot lurex threads in this yarn. So here is my solution. I went to another yarn store when I was alone and find this yarn. It's really similar shape, color. Again, this is hand-dyed yarn from Canada, as I understood. It's Arcane Fibre works. So I find something very similar, but this is classic yarn composition. It's 435 yards per 100 grams and 80% merino and 20% of nylon. And I decided that I will knit these socks using helix technique knitting or helical technique. Not sure how to name this right in English. It is method when you knit one round with one yarn and another yarn with another yarn, creating a seamless and frequent color change. The result in a visually complex and intricate look, but it's very simple to knit. So in my case, I will use this helix method for 2 reasons. First, I'm hoping that my daughter will not notice the color transition, so she won't realize that I added a different yarn for her socks. And second, as the half of the sock will be knitted using like the classic sock yarn, I hope this will make these socks very much more elastic and comfortable to wear, solving this problem with non-stretchy cotton. But that's not all. I don't want to knit just simple pair of sock. I want to make like kitten paw socks. My daughter is a huge fan of unicorns and kittens. We actually have a cat in our house, so like cat theme is very popular and very close to us. So I plan to add embroidery on the bottom of the socks and create a cat paw pads. I will show you the picture that I got inspiration from. So you can see on the picture there are some black stripes between like cat toes. So as on the picture, I might add these stitch details between toes to mimic the look of cat claws separations, making the design even more fun and realistic. I haven't fully complete this design in my mind, so I hope that next couple days I will have chance to sit down and think about how I want these socks will look at the end after I finish them. Maybe I will add another color of yarn for this cat pads on the bottom of the socks, or maybe as on the picture I will knit the toe in another color. I don't know, we'll see. Of course, you will see the results in my next podcast. I think that's enough about socks for now. And let me show you the finished project that I completed this month for my husband. To be honest, February turned out to be very men's knitting month. I had redo a vest that I have knitted for him in the end of 2024. There were some issues with the yarn, so I have made adjustments. I will not be showing this project since it wasn't the finished project of this month. But beside that, I finished this hat for him, and also I started a new big project, a sweater that I definitely show you a bit later. Actually, it's quite rare for me to knit for my husband. He didn't ask me about this often, but in the same time I really enjoyed to knit something for someone else, not only for myself. This is not an exception. I'm really glad to finish a hat, beanie hat for him. It was knitted with Knitting for Olive Merino yarn in color dark cognac, and here is what's left from the second skein. So the weight of this hat is about 85 grams. When I have started this hat, I expected to use both skeins of this yarn, and at one point I even thought that maybe it will be not enough to make full length of the hat, because it's double beanie hat using only 2 skeins of yarn. But during the knitting, my husband said that he doesn't want this folded brim on the hat, so he wants to wear it just like this, like only double layered hat, and just tucking this crown inside instead of rolling the edge. Let me show you what I mean. Of course, this hat is a bit big on me, since I knitted for men's head size. With the circumference of the head is about 56-57 centimeters, and on my husband it fits perfectly. But I think you can imagine and you understand what I'm talking about. So during knitting, I realized that I don't need very high heads, so I don't need to knit very long the central part of these heads before folding each crown into another. I don't have photos of my husband in this hat because now in Texas it's pretty hot and he hadn't wear it yet. And you know, the second reason that I really don't like how this hat looks when I rolled the edge. So I don't really like satisfied how the crown looks like. It's not very neat and it's very soft. And these two crowns, that the first and the second one, attached with each other only in the central part, and like sides of this crown are not connected with each other very strong. So when you put this hat on, it's not so structured and can look not very neat and beautiful. So there is something that I don't really like about double beanie hats. This hat turns out very great and I'm really happy about this. But in the same time, I'm working on similar hat for me, and I will show you it just in a moment. And I'm thinking how to make this crown more stable and more structured. I have some idea, give me a moment and I will share it with you. This hat is still very warm because it's double layered fabric and it's knitted using 2.5 millimeter needles. In the same time, it's very elastic and soft, and this merino is amazing. I already said this in my previous podcast that it's unusual merino for me. When I'm thinking about merino yarn, 100% merino yarn, I imagine a very smooth and not woolish yarn, and this is another merino, but it's still not itchy, very soft, warm soft, and very comfortable against the skin. My husband already has gloves that I have knitted using the same yarn but in another color, and after all time he's wearing them, they still look perfect. There is no peeling, no fuzzing. I'm absolutely in love with this yarn, especially after washing and blocking. It transforms amazing, becoming even more softer and polished, and the color palette in knitting for olive is just stunning. I want them all, and so I really hope that I can work with this yarn again in future. Honestly, I don't know what else to add about this double layered beanie hat. While knitting, I made short videos about all steps how to knit this hat. So I think in March I will upload a small short tutorial. It will be, I think, a small tutorial without complicated calculating, without any detailed before knitting, just step-by-step tutorial how I knit exactly this hat. I will show you how to cast on with an open edge, how to knit the first crown with decreases, how many stitches I casted on, and decreasing rhythm. So if you use the same yarn, you can easily adjust the numbers of stitches to fit larger or smaller hats. So yes, I think that's all with this hat. And as I said, now I'm still knitting. Actually, I already showed you this hats in my previous podcast. So this double layered beanie for myself. I'm knitting it using another yarn. It's cool wool lace from Lana Grossa. And this is my progress. It is not very big. I think I finished 1/2 of the hat, so 50% of hat is ready. This hat I started just from the crown, then I worked with increases, and now I just working my knitting in a round. I think I will need the same length and then started to shape another crown using decreases. And as I said, I'm still thinking about how to make this hat more structured, these crowns more structured, because I want to wear these hats on rolling my edge. And I'm thinking about to sew these edges using sewing machine. I'm still not really sure about my idea, and of course it can ruin all my work, but this idea, like, you know, completely grabbed me, and I'm thinking about it all times when I knitting this hat. When you buy hat from the store, most of the time it is just a long tube that is sewn like on 2 or 4 lines. That's why it's more very like structured and hold this shape very good. So I will try to mimic this method, and we'll see. Maybe it turns out great, and maybe it will be absolutely fail. Honestly, it will be a long time before I finished it, because it's 2.5 millimeters needle. I'm not knitting this hat at home, only on my kids' gymnastic classes or during some small car trip. So it's very long process. And yes, I'm using 2 strands of this yarn because it is very thick. Since we started to talk about my work in progress, let me show you all my projects and how far I am gotten with them. So the first one will be pink sweater. I already showed you this sweater in the last video, but I haven't made much progress. It is knitted with 2 different strands of Lana Grossa yarn. I will show you all names and information about them down below. Just 2 words about construction. I'm knitting it from my head without any pattern. In Russian we say that this is Japanese shoulder. I don't know if you have the same name for this construction. So you will start with shaping shoulders on the back, then picking up stitches for each shoulder, shaping the neckline, then connect the rows for the front part, and then connect all knitting in a round. And I finished my neckline and just stopped. I don't know why, I just don't want to knit only stockinette fabric. Maybe inspiration will come to me in March, because, you know, this is very spring color sweater. We'll see. The next project is this Maren Tee. So it's like boucle tee. I'm knitting this tee using a pattern. It is Moroccan pattern. For this tee, I finished I think the most difficult part. It's like all upper part of this tee, except sleeves. Now I'm working on the body length, and again, after I finished all difficult and interesting part of this garment, I lost interest for this. Now I need to make only knit stitches, but in the same time it's very interesting how it will turn out, because it's absolutely something different for me. I'm knitting this thing using Cone Italian yarn. It is 87 merino, 5 cashmere and 8 polyamide. It is Zegna Baruffa yarn, and here is 300 meters per 100 grams. Very interesting yarn. It's very small curly boucle yarn in cookie color on black thread. So the fabric turned out very interesting and fantasy. I don't have anything similar in my wardrobe, and it's very interesting how I can style it with my other, bottoms. To be honest, I'm still not sure that this piece will be wearing often by me. We'll see. After I will finish the length of the body, I will finish my sleeves, and then I think I took this piece to the Joann store or Hobby Lobby, and we'll find some buttons, because here will be 3 buttons, and I think it will be smooth, shiny black, small buttons, but we'll see. I think I decide this only in a store. Oh my gosh, I lost stitches. And again, I said this in the previous video, so in the same time, it's really, you don't need to be very neat with this yarn, because it forgives you any mistakes or any tension problems. But if you will make mistake, it will be very hard to fix it. So I think that's all for today with this garment. And the last thing that I started previous month and knitting and still knitting, I forgot the name. Okay, I will attach the name of it here, somewhere here. So this cardigan I started last time using again yarn, Italian yarn on the cone. Here I have 100% cashmere from Loro Piana, and this is an unknown yarn, but this is blends with cashmere, merino and silk. So in my first version I used 2 strands of cashmere and 1 strand of these blends, but then I noticed that I have made a mistake. Here on the one side of this cardigan I forgot to pick up more stitches, so both of these sides looks different, and I decided, okay, I will reknit these garments, but I will change the number of threads, the number of yarn strands. So I started another version, the second version, using 3 strands of cashmere yarn and 1 strand of this blend yarn, and same needle numbers, 3.5, the same size number that pattern is recommending. And in my previous version I had problems with tension. So this time I'm using 3.5 for right sides of my knitting and 3.25 for the wrong side of my knitting, because I more tighten the the knit stitches than the purl stitches. And now it looks more neat, my knitting looks more neat. I think it will be perfect after washing and blocking, because you know this cone yarn always has oil and some wax. I always have problem with this word. Oil and wax. So yarn is over covered with oil and wax, and after washing, very hard washing, not in washing machine, but you can wash it several times to wash out all these oils, and in the same time it turns out and it transforms really beautiful. I tried to film this difference and show you maybe some pictures on some short video before and after washing this cone yarn, Italian cone yarn. But I don't want to do it right now. I think I will knit all length of the body, and maybe then I will wash it before I will start to knit sleeves. But not sure. Maybe I will finish all this thing and then we'll make washing and blocking. There are a huge number of stitches on my needles now, about 340, I think. After a couple of rows, maybe 4 or 5 rows, I divide my... Oh no, I already divided my knitting. And so now I will start to knit only my body, but it's still a lot of stitches on my needles now. And again, this knitting is quite long and not very funny because it's just stockinette fabric. Not my favorite part, but in the same time I have lots of works in progress now that needs only knit stitches or just back and forth and back row stitches. So we'll see what I will finish first, maybe nothing. And we have the last project that I actually have on my needles now and that I have started this month. And I'm talking about this very warm winter sweater for my husband. To be honest, it was a very spontaneous idea to start this project. I have this book. It is Lincoln Newman, Wilderness Knits. It's quite well famous book with colored work sweaters and accessories. So I was thinking maybe my husband chose some chart for his future socks, because I have told you that I decided that the months when my kids and husband have a birthday, I will need socks for them. But he didn't find anything for his socks, but he found 2 sweaters that he asked me to knit. And this is one of it. The name of this pattern is Black Wolf Sweater. As I know, this pattern, you can find this pattern on Ravelry, so you don't need to buy this book to try to knit this pattern. The link, again, in the description box below. And I think I need to say a couple words about construction. So in this book, this sweater is knitted from the bottom. After you finish the body and sleeves, you joined it all in one thing and making the creases along the raglan lines, you finished with this color. But I don't like to knit from the bottom. I'm always knitting top down because for me it's more comfortable. You can always try on thing on yourself or on someone for who you need these garments. And in the same time, I don't like to make decreases on the raglan lines. I love to make increases because I can control the shape of my sweater. I can, for example, make increases every 3rd row or every 4th row, or make increases for sleeves every 3rd row and for body in every 2nd row. You know, combine and decide how to knit raglan lines during I'm actually knitting them. So it was my decision to change construction and start from neckline to make a raglan, then to knit this collar, I think this is a collar, folded neckline, then sleeves, and then body of this sweater. I had to pause for a bit because my phone ran out of battery, but we almost done. So let's talk about the yarn. I use the yarn that is recommended by pattern. So this is Raumagarn Vamps. I think in some Norwegian yarn, very bulky yarn, it's 83 meters per 50 grams, 100% wool, and needles that I'm using for this sweater is 6. I don't know what American US size is it, but I definitely will leave this information here again. This is quite scratchy yarn, like classic sheep wool yarn. So the sweater turns out very, very warm. It's absolutely, you know, winter sweater for some, I don't know, mountains hiking or mountains camping. I don't know where my husband wants to wear this sweater here in Texas, but we'll see. Sometimes it's really, really cold here in Texas too, but it may be 1 or 2 or 3 days per year. But in the same time, where your husband asks you to need something special for him, something that he's really dreaming about, for me it's a real pleasure to do it, and every time when I try on this sweater on him, I see his face. He's always smiling and he's so happy how it turns out. So I'm really, really enjoying all this process. And for this sweater, he chose this combination of color. The main color is rust red, like rust brown red. And the contrast color yarn is cloudberry, some mustard cloudberry color yarn. And this combination reminds me Gryffindor from Harry Potter, and I'm really fan of Harry Potter world. So it's something that I'm really enjoy to work with and to see this combination of color in my knitting. One thing that I didn't mention is short row shaping. Short row shaping is difference in a height between back and front of your knitting, and it's very important part of sweater because without this additional rows, when you put your sweater on, you may have this bubble under your neckline here on the front, or the back of your garment may rise up after you finished your sweater. So especially in men's sweater, my husband has quite wide chest, and without these additional short rows on his back, he will definitely have this problem in future with his sweater. So that was another reason why I decided to knit these garments top down. The only problem with the top down knitting in this particular sweater is color work. It was quite challenging to incorporate color work pattern chart, this chart, in back and forth rows, and to knit first several, I think first 9 rows, adding stitches along raglan lines, adding short rows back, and doing charts in the same time. I think you understand what I'm talking about. So I reknit these parts maybe 3 or 4 times. I tried different ways, different methods how to do this. What I finally did, I just pick up 74 stitches on my needles, connected in the round, and knit first round just with the main color. And then I place my markers on when my future raglan lines will be, and started to shape back and forth rows shaping the back part of my sweater. And then on my 9th row, I connect right and left parts of the sweater and started to knit in a round. I made increases for the first half of the raglan lines in every 2nd row, and then I started to improvise and made every 2nd increase on the body and every 3rd row increase on the sleeve. Something like this. I can even tell you where exactly I made my increases. I always steam this part of sweater and try it on my husband and see, okay, I think it's enough for sleeves on this stage. Let's increase a bit for body, and in, for example, 4 or 5 rows again, let's see how to change my increasing pace on this stage of sweaters, something like this. Then I finished with raglan lines and returned to my neckline, just picked up stitches and created this 2x2 ribbing collar. The only thing that I'm now worried about is yarn. I'm not sure that it will be enough. I have bought 10 skeins of the main color yarn and 8 of contrasted yarn color. I'm pretty sure that it's enough of cloudberry colored yarn, but I'm not sure about the main yarn color. We'll see. I decided that I finished my neckline, then I will knit both of sleeves, and all remaining yarn I will use for the body. Maybe I just knit the ribbing on the bottom with only cloudberry yarn, cloudberry colored yarn. We'll see, we'll see. I can say that this is the only one project that I am now working on, just because of the chart. The chart has 14 rows in a high, and it's difficult for me to remember all these rows. So I always, in the charts, I can't, consume any other information and during I'm knitting, because I definitely will make some mistakes. So I don't want to put this sweater on the sides and knit something else, because I'm afraid that when I return to knitting, to knit this sweater, I forgot how I did something, how I color worked it, and for example, my tension will change. So I decided that I will finish all this sweater before I will continue to start something and will continue to working on my progress in projects. Besides, the weather now is pretty hot and March will be definitely warm and hot here in Texas. But again, I don't want to put this sweater aside and return only, for example, in November 2025, just because I definitely will forget everything about this sweater, how I knit it, what stage I stopped, and so on and so on. So I think I finished to talk about the sweater. The only thing that I can show you is the wrong side, because for me in color work, the wrong side sometimes even more beautiful than the right side. So now it looks like this, and I think it's very, very beautiful, really. It looks like some visual effect, I can't stop look at this inside part of this sweater. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed following along with me. Be sure to be subscribed and leave for a comment. I would love to get feedback from you. And I think we'll see each other at the beginning of April. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Bye.